This was inevitable. Another New York Met hitting the injured list. This time it's Starling Marte, and that could propel Jesse Winker back early from the injured list. But of course, if Marte is hurt, that'll mark the 17th New York Met that is on the active injured list. That is by far the most in Major League Baseball and continues this franchise's theme of injury galore. This year in 2025, it's mainly been on the pitching side, but of course, Marte could be a hitter landing on the IL. And if he does, that could mean Jesse Winker comes back a little bit early from his injury to fill that void role at the designated hitter spot that Marte would be leaving. So we're going to have plenty to go over today. We're going to go over this injury for Marte. How long will he be out? How is he doing this year? Spoiler, he's been pretty good, and he's been a big part of this New York Met team. As a result, is Jesse Winker coming back early? We're also going to talk about two pitchers that are critical and could be coming back towards the end of this week. So there's plenty to go over and only be here on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. I'll take you through everything, but first, I got to take you through some subscribers, and that being that 67.8% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here at Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this. And I'm going to start with the actual injury itself. So yesterday, it was the last game of the Subway Series. Mets were up 3-2 in the Subway Series. Unfortunately, they lost, so they split the series overall with the Yanks, but took 2 out of 3 against them at Citi Field. And they look really good this past week. Video to come on that. But it was the bottom of the ninth, a 1-1 count to Starling Marte and 1 out. He took a high pitch from Devin Williams, a fastball. This was actually just after Carlos Mendoza got thrown out. I'm going to talk a lot more about this game and about the week in the coming videos tomorrow. But Marte takes a pitch high. He winces after he does so. You can clearly see a facial expression where he was in some pain. Then he ended up, his left knee bended, which is interesting because they're saying it's a right knee injury. But he ended up grabbing that left knee. He calls time and he gets the trainers to come out. And you see this here, Marte on his left leg. It's weird because he grabbed that left leg first, that left knee. And now you see him balancing on that left leg, clearly showing an injury to the right leg, which I thought was very interesting. But let's go ahead and hear from the experts. They are definitely better doctors than I am. I am no doctor. I will definitely be honest with you there. He's injured, as we're going to hear from Ben Krimmel and Andy Martino of SNY. They say, quote, just as the Mets appeared close to getting one DH back to full health, another one is dealing with an injury. Starling Marte's right knee, quote, flared up again. That was a quote from Mendoza during his last at-bat of Sunday's loss to the Yankees, and he is undergoing testing to determine the severity of the injury, manager Carlos Mendoza said. The skipper added that this is the, quote, same knee that he had issues with last year, spring training. When asked about his level of concern, Mendoza exhaled and said, I gotta wait. So obviously that's not a good thing when someone is waiting on the doctors. You can tell that he's definitely in a questionable state right now of health, and nobody really knows how long he's going to be out, unfortunately. And this is what Carlos Mendoza said in addition to what we heard in that last quote. He said, quote, I was just talking to him, and he was like, obviously I felt it, but I gotta wait and see what the doctors say or the trainers. Now, unfortunately, we might not know for a while as we go to Krimmel of SNY, who says, quote, SNY's Andy Martino, we heard from him earlier, reported that a source said the Mets don't expect to have anything on the injury Sunday night. They didn't last night, and might not have any information on Monday either. So far, it's halfway through the day on Monday, and we haven't heard anything as the testing gets done. So that's not good because the testing is taking a while, which could mean that the injury is pretty severe and he's going to be out for a while. And in addition to this, Sandy Martino himself is not very positive, and he's an insider with the team. He knows a lot about the team and a lot more than most of us know. He says, quote, it doesn't sound like a quick resolution with Marte. Don't want to speculate beyond that, but that's the deal. There's going to be some tests, and we're not going to know for a little while. He said that yesterday on Sports Night in a report on Starling Marte's injury just after the game over there at Citi Field. And as a result, you might see Jesse Winker coming back earlier. So that's the update on Starling Marte. Let's go ahead and shift gears to Jesse Winker. Krimmel goes on to say, quote, with Monday's day off, the Mets have time And Tuesday, which Martino indicated could be when the club knows more, could be when a move is made as they are primed to activate Jesse Winker from the injured list. Mendoza said earlier in the day that Winker, who hit a long home run in Sunday's game for AAA Syracuse, had a chance to be added to the active roster for Tuesday's series opener in Baltimore against the Orioles. So we're going to go here a little bit more about Starling Marte here, more exactly what he said, as we're going to hear from Tacomo this time, Anthony Tacomo of MLB.com, another Met insider. He says, quote, Starling Marte said he is not really worried about his knee, but he felt something weird in his last at-bat. Obviously, because after he took the pitch, he winced and you could tell he was in some pain. He's waiting on test results. Asked if this could be an IL thing, Marte replied, quote, I don't know yet. We'll see. The doctor has to check, decide what's going on, end quote. That is not very good news. That's not positive. You usually know from a player, the player himself, who's feeling the injury is going to say, yeah, this is really severe, or no, this is fine. It's nothing. I'll be back in a couple of days. I know for a fact the doctors are going to tell me it's nothing, but it's always a concern when you're questioning it and when you need to rely on those doctors to give you a timetable, to give you how severe the injury is. Usually, more than not, that doesn't play out well, which is very unfortunate for Starling Marte. And again, it's significant because right now the Mets have 16 players on the injured list. This could mark 17. I know Jesse Winker is going to come back soon, which could bump it back down to 16. But right now, 16, and Marte could make it a 17th. That's insane. And not only that, not only are we dealing with a ton of injuries as a team, but Starling Marte is a significant injury. Look at these stats. He's been solid this year. He's hitting to a 270, over 350 OBP, an OPS at about the 750 mark. He's been a solid designated hitter since Jesse Winker went down on May 4th with his injury. Marte has been getting good reps, basically everyday reps over the past 2 months at that DH role, and he has looked really, really solid despite a really poor month of April and couple of days of March. Through the month of April, his slash line was a pathetic 173, 290, 327, good for just a 617 OPS. But let's take a look at the splits. Look at this. In the month of May, 300, 404, 400, good for an 804 OPS. Not half bad in June, 291, 355, 400 for a 755 OPS. And in the month of July, over a couple of games, 438, 438, 500, good for a 938 OPS. He has looked really, really solid of late and over the past 2 months, filling in that role for Jesse Winker. And it almost feels as if we're just going to swap it again. Jesse Winker was basically the everyday designated hitter when he was healthy. Marte was also healthy, getting some reps, but not too many. And then Winker goes down on May 4th. Marte comes in as basically the everyday DH. They work a couple of other guys like Ronnie Mauricio, sometimes Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, but it's mainly been Starling Marte. And now Marte gets hurt and Winker comes back in. So it's a full circle moment, basically. And that's the deal on Starling Marte. That's all we have now. I'll definitely keep you updated as we hear more about this injury. But for now, let's focus on Jesse Winker. He is a big bat. Look at this in the minor leagues. He has looked really, really solid. A 286 500, 786 slash, good for a 1.286 OPS. He's had a couple of homers as well. He's played at a bunch of different levels. He's played at High A Brooklyn. He's also played at Double A Binghamton and Triple A Syracuse. But the main thing about his bat that's big is Jesse Winker hits the righties. He's a left-handed hitter that can hit righties. And it almost feels as if the Mets don't have a designated hitter that can hit the righties. So that's good. It's good that Winker is coming back, but obviously with Marte out, it makes it a little bit more and it stings a little bit more. So let's hear an update about Jesse Winker. We're going to the skip, Carlos Mendoza, who says, quote, got all the at-bats. He's got one more today, as in Sunday. We'll check with him after the game today and see if there's a chance for him to be active Tuesday. Obviously, as we heard earlier from the guys from SNY, the Mets might be calling him up tomorrow on Tuesday for the next 6 games before the All-Star break. Try and get Winker back before that break. As we're going to hear a couple more updates. That's on the hitting side. Quickly, let's dive into some pitching. We're going to start with Kodai Senga, who had a rehab start just 2 days ago on Saturday. He went 3 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. But the most important thing is that he threw 68 pitches, as this was his first rehab assignment after going down with a hamstring injury after that freak play. in mid-June, mid to early June on the 12th. The skip said, quote, he physically feels fine. We'll see how today, tomorrow, how they go. Hopefully he's making a start for us next time. As in, next time he's making a start, it's not a minor league rehab start, and it's here in the big leagues. That would be really nice if we can get Kodai Senga before the All-Star break towards this weekend, preferably in Kansas City when we're playing the Royals. I think that'd be awesome. And another guy on the pitching side that I'd love to have back is, of course, Sean Manaea, who originally went down with an oblique injury and then had bodies in his elbow and had that elbow problem that set him back. Mendy said, quote, he's making a start on Tuesday in Syracuse. That's going to be tomorrow. And then we'll see where we're at. Hopefully he's a player for us toward the end of the next road trip. So in Kansas City, again, like Senga. He's pitching Tuesday. We'll see how he comes out of that one. And then we have a decision there. So hopefully we have a couple of these key pitchers back up on the horizon, as well as Jesse Winker. But of course, unfortunate news with Starling Marte. So go ahead, go down there in the comments. Plenty to talk about. Do you think that Senga and Manaea will actually be back before the All-Star break? You think we're rushing Winker? How bad do you think this Starling Marte injury is? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in today's video. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. And let's go Mets!